Neva is way stronger than we originally thought in Dragon Ball Daima because what he just did in the newest episode is kinda unbelievable. Dragon Ball Daima episode 14 picks back up with Goku, Vegeta, and the others after the Super Saiyan 3 showcase by Vegeta and the encounter that they all had on planet Mega. Last week's episode might have really felt like downtime after the big transformation, but I'm hoping it doesn't feel like that 2 weeks in a row. After leaving planet Mega in the second demon world with the ship being newly repaired by Bulma and Pansy, the gang starts making their way to Demon World 1. At the end of the last episode, however, Goma and Degasu cut off Warp Sama and gather the Gendarmerie, so we should be seeing the outcome of that stuff here soon. It's on their way to their next destination now that Pansy makes a phone call back to Peril in the lab asking why she's radioing in, of all things. Of course, the Kraken from earlier ate Pansy's phone, so that's why there's a need for the radio now. She tells Peril to give her dad a message for her, that they have the second Demon World Dragon Ball and are heading to the first Demon World now. But Peril lets Pansy know that the king actually went to steal a plane to go to the first Demon World himself. Pansy goes on to tell Peril that Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, these people from the outside world that she's with are really strong, so let her dad know that it's okay, and then they hang up the phone. Vegeta makes the comment asking if he's a king, why does he need to steal planes, with Pansy responding that they only have this one busted mid-size plane. Still, I don't know a single person with a plane in my life, so they're doing pretty good if you ask me. Now, this is when Bulma chimes in saying that if they give her some Magellite, that she'd be willing to give them a few planes. And remember Magellite that we talked about in previous Daima videos? That mineral that's found between the second and third demon worlds that Bulma wanted to take back and experiment with, but Pansy said stealing it is punishable by death. So this is a way for her to easily get as much as she likes with not too much kickback. Just throw your endless money around, right? Of course, Pansy accepts, and then we cut to Goma's castle with he and Degasu. This is when Goma asks if the Gendarmerie are ready, with Degasu replying almost, but more importantly, Goma goes on, what about them? Have they arrived yet? He asks, talking about some crew, and you guys probably see where this is headed already. Goma calls them the Special Forces, saying, so they've gathered. And Degasu would point his attention over to this group of honestly goofy looking guys eating at a table full of snacks. Now this might be somewhat of a stretch, but these guys kind of look like some derivative of Beerus and Champa's race. I know I'm not the only one that sees it, but I wouldn't confidently be able to say that they're the same race as Beerus either. I don't know. Needless to say, Goma doesn't look too pleased, so Degasu gets their attention. They rush over right away and bow in front of Goma. Now, these guys right here are literally the Ginyu Force in present day, the Gendarmerie Force they call them. I'm not even going to go over all of them right now, but they're the 2025 version of the Ginyu Force with just how lit they are. And they all have a special pose too. We learn each of their names through this introduction, so I mean, good stuff to you if you can remember all of them. Hopefully they'll be around long enough for us to need to remember their names. But if I'm being honest, these guys are actually some weirdos. They went and shot out all of the glass fixtures in the room like maniacs. Goma goes on to tell them about the group that's headed this way with Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and the others, attempting to invade here on their way from the second demon world. Although Warp Sama has been shut off, they were summoned here as kind of like an insurance policy. The Gendarmerie Force is not too pleased to hear that their opponents are kids, but Goma and Degasu both warned them to not underestimate these guys. Degasu even goes as far as to tell the Gendarmerie Force that these guys are the beasts that defeated Majin Buu and even the Tamagami here recently. They don't really believe Degasu at first, but Degasu doubles down and they finally shut up. Still though, even with these facts presented to them and knowing what they're up against, these guys still don't seem to be taking things too seriously, so really I'm excited to see just how strong they actually are. Back in the skies of Demon World 2, Glorio and the others arrive at Warp Sama, but when it doesn't move, they realize something's wrong. Neva speaks up saying that it must be Goma who turned off the switch, and since there doesn't seem to be any other way to Demon World 1, there doesn't look like there's much they can do. The tunnel is blocked off by this shield of light covering the entrance. This is when Goku uses his power pole to poke the shield below, but when he does, well, he got a nice little shock to let him know not to do that again. I guess a little bit of an extra defensive measure for the shield, it looks like. Well, it knocks Goku out and he falls from the ship back towards the shield below, and I really really don't know exactly what was going on with this next sequence right here. It was kind of funny after Goku clearly got knocked out by that electricity from the shield, and he started falling back towards the shield to probably get shocked even more. And Piccolo and Vegeta just did not budge. They didn't move a muscle. Matter of fact, they were still on the ship talking to Neva, and it felt like it took like 10 minutes for Goku to fall. But finally, Neva makes a move and decides to do something. What happens here is Neva steps past Piccolo and Vegeta, saying he thought he'd air the demon realm out a bit while he's here, and flies out over the tunnel entrance. He starts reciting something that I feel like I can safely assume is a Namekian incantation, and this orb of energy appears in his hand. Piccolo looks really shocked and intrigued to see whatever Neva is doing here as well, but what happens next is Neva sends the orb of ki into the shield above them, and it disables it in this really pretty fading effect. He does the same thing for the Demon World 1 tunnel below them, waking Goku up from his free fall and effectively opening up the entire Demon Realm, it seems like. Now, of course, it's hard to know exactly what this power was that Neva just showed off that took down all of the shields in the Demon Realm, but it's obvious he isn't just some old Namekian, and there are a lot of powers that Namekians possess that we still don't know about. He's a lot stronger and more resourceful than maybe we originally thought. I mean, we know that Namekians possess a lot of crazy abilities. We saw what he just did here. We saw what he was able to do to the Tamagami that was fighting Vegeta earlier. And this is when Piccolo puts 2 and 2 together, asking Neva if he's the one that made the shield so long ago in the first place, to which he confirms. He says that he did it because the second Demon World was in chaos. Ruffians would come from the third Demon World and arrogant fools from the first, making it almost impossible to live in peace. It's one of the reasons the Namekians moved to the outside world in the first place, so I put up shields to prevent passage, Neva admits. Warp Sama was placed instead, but eventually travel decreased and things quieted down. Piccolo, upon hearing this, gives Neva his flowers, saying that no Namekian could do what he just did, and with that, Goku and the others can officially make their way to the first Demon World. As Goku and the others hurtle into the first Demon World on their ship, Degasu is the first to feel some sort of disturbance, I guess you could say, coming into this world. However, Goma is able to convince him that it's nothing just because he didn't sense it. In the convenience store below the castle, the Genoma Force, or Ginyu Force number 2, how I see them, is buying all these snacks when they run into Majin Buu and Majin Ku. Not much really happens here except them spending all their money, but this is the first time that they made contact with the Majins in this way. They even try to buy their food for them, but it turns out to be a little bit more expensive than the Genoma Force were able to afford, but they still end up getting the Majins some chocolate, which I thought was pretty cool. Afterwards, Arinsu notices that the shield could possibly be down as well. It seems like this sound of wind that they keep hearing is indication of a sound that they're not used to down here. Back at the ship with Glorio and the others, they're still hurtling towards the ground in the first Demon World, unable to slow down at all because of more problems with the ship now. Piccolo suggests that since they can all pretty much fly except for Bulma, but Vegeta's there so that's not really a problem, that they should just abandon the ship when they see the surface of something. With the ship getting worse now, they all have to jump out a little bit earlier, but are able to grab Bulma and the 2 Dragon Balls and enter the first Demon World safely without crashing in the ship or burning. Their plane, however, drops right in front of 2 of the Genoma Force members, and after taking a closer look, they're able to spot Goku and the others flying out of the sky above them, so they report back to Goma immediately. Now, remember, Goma did a lot of stuff to make sure that Goku and the others couldn't even travel here in the first place, but now that they're actually able to lay eyes on Goku knowing he's coming right here, it sends Goma into a frenzy, so he orders a full-on attack now. As soon as they reach the first Demon World, Goku and the others are ambushed, with Goma clearly panicking now, the walls closing in more and more with every episode. According to Twitter, guys like Chronicles and DBS Hype, next episode is going to be something extremely hype that you probably don't want to be spoiled for. If I had to guess, I would assume maybe it has something to do with the fusion bugs or something to do with Goku this time instead of Vegeta. I'm not sure, but be careful on Twitter and things like that, guys. As far as episode 14 wraps up though, it doesn't feel like the most progress was made in this episode. I mean, they spent most of it either outside or flying through the tunnel, right? Learning that Neva was the one who originally created the shields between Demon Worlds was pretty cool though, because they are constantly adding on to the crazy powers that Namekians can have, and even Piccolo was pretty interested in this. I'm still holding out faith in the Gina Marie Force though. I know they're pretty much copies of the Ginyu Force, but they're not our first like big group that we've had after the Ginyu Force. I mean, we've had the Pride Troopers, we've had the Heaters, we had I forgot what Moro's crew was called, but all those guys that broke out of prison. We've had groups before, but these guys definitely resemble the Ginyu Force way more than those other groups. I got faith though. I'm already convinced that they're not just gonna be some weaklings and get pushed around the whole fight. I really hope that they show us something impressive. Maybe I'm crazy, but I really think there's something to these guys. Now, one thing that might end up being kind of troubling here soon though is the constant travel between demon worlds now that just got bust wide open since Neva took down both shields. And remember the turmoil that the second demon world was constantly put in and was the reason why he created the shields in the first place. Is he gonna regret turning them all off if all three go into chaos? I don't know, that might not even happen. I just thought it was a little strange how he went about it. Next week, I don't know about you guys, but I'm praying the Gina Marie Force gives Goku and these guys a crazy fight. Just please don't be weak. That's the only thing I'm asking for. And maybe we'll get a Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegeta appearance if these fellas are the real deal. But that is gonna wrap up Dragon Ball Daima episode 14, guys. A little bit of a slower episode in my opinion, but again, learning more about Neva is probably key here. I don't know what it is about him, but Glorio is not the only person I don't trust. Neva just, am I the only one? Like, he just gives me bad vibes for some reason, and every week I keep waiting for him to just do some rat shit. Next week I am really excited for, not just because of Daima getting back hot again after the holiday break, but we also have the superhero DLC for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero dropping too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's on the 23rd, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications to never miss an upload, fellas. But anyways, have a great day. I'm gonna see you all in the next one. Bye guys.